I built an audience of over 1 million followers and turned that audience over 20 million in sales because I built a genuine relationship. So when it comes to telling your story, the most common question that I get is, well, Richard, I don't know how to tell my story and build an authentic relationship. I feel just, I don't know, a little nervous when I'm on camera. I feel like people won't trust me. I feel like I'm not good enough or I'm not enough of an expert. And then even if you're doing a faceless account, hang with me because in this video, I'm going to share with you, well, how do you tell your story if you're going faceless and doing more of a corporate brand? People can actually see, or you have to hide your identity. Maybe it's something related to work conflict. I'll show you how to do that here as well. So first off, there's a worksheet attached. I'm going to give this to you as a gift, okay? And it's where we're going to cover something called the viral transformation story, called the VTS. And I'm going to be breaking this down today as we go through this exercise, okay? The very first thing we have to understand is something called KLT. I give credit to Dan Kennedy, who is the first person I learned this from. And KLT stands for the know, like, and trust factor. So whenever you have audience members that follow you, you have to think through, do people know me? Do they like me? And do they trust me? Because if they don't have KLT, they're never going to buy from you. Because remember, people buy coaches before they buy coaching. They have to buy into you as a person first. So they have to have KLT with you, know, like, and trust you, before they ever want to invest into your coaching, right? They have to buy into you before they buy into what you have to offer, which could be either your product, or if you're doing digital arbitrage and you're promoting some other person's offer, it doesn't matter. Because in either of the situations, whether they buy from you or someone else that you're promoting, they have to buy into you first, right? And by the way, if you're doing this faceless, okay, if you're wondering, well, how do I get people to buy into me if I'm doing it faceless? The only difference is instead of showing your face, you're sharing your story via text on screen and also audio. So for example, if you're doing audio because you can't share your face, well, you got to think through, how do I build a relationship with people with my voice? And so you can literally record a video on your phone, but maybe rather than showing your face selfie style, you're recording your keyboard or you're recording your computer. And you're literally just talking with your voice in the background. And that way you're able to build an audience, a relationship with your audience with your voice. And then also, if you're doing a faceless, you want to use text. So you want to use text on your stories, text on your reels, any captions. You really have to emphasize, how do I make good written copy? Because that's the only way that you're going to build an authentic relationship. So for example, there's these two accounts that I think make really good content, and they're both faceless, and they've done successfully. They've done really, really well. I'm going to show you right now what they look like. So you see here, Shy Girl Money, this person here has gone from 0 to over 500,000 in sales in 9 months. Pretty impressive. And if you look at the stories, if you just click through, you'll see it's literally just text, social proof, text on the screen, right? Text on the screen, link in bio. So this is how she actually sells the product, right? Screenshots, 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 screenshots with text on the screen and links. You see how simple that is, right? And as you're going through all of this, it's just really, really simple. If you look at the reels, she's not showing her face, but she is having text on the screen, and she has really, really, really good text on the description to actually build a good relationship. So this is exactly how you do it if you are doing it faceless, right? So this is a really good example. Feel free to check this out on your own time. And by the way, these faceless, genuinely, if you look at them, they don't show their face, which is pretty mind-blowing, right? That's the part that, it even inspires me. Like, it breaks my limiting beliefs of, oh man, you can actually do this without even needing to show your face if you don't want to. Okay, personally for me, I like showing my face because I like making a difference in people's lives. 5 years, 10 years from now, when I have a family and I have kids, I want my kids to remember, wow, my dad was able to change a lot of people's lives, right? And I want to be able to have that kind of impact and fulfillment of being able to serve people. But again, that decision is completely up to you, right? Now, let's talk through the VTS, the viral transformation story, okay? So this exercise, which I'm going to show you on this Google Doc, and then we're going to complete it together on the worksheet, is where you know exactly how to magnetize and attract the right audience by telling your own personal story. So the foundation to content creation and how you're ultimately going to explode your business in a good way is you got to get people to buy into who you are. And the way you get people to do that is the more vulnerable you are, the more relatable you are, right? They have to buy into the mentor before they buy into the mentorship. And so there's there's a few categories, and I want you to write down 10 bullet points per category. And for this exercise, I recommend that you sit down for 20, 30 minutes in a very quiet spot and treat this almost like a therapy session. I'm not sure if you've ever gone through therapy, but at therapy, they basically just sit down and they ask you all these questions. And they go really deep into your childhood, and they ask you about your adolescence, and they ask you about, hey, did you go through some kind of suffering or bullying or some difficult thing with your parents when you're in high school and in your upbringing? And it's painful. And sometimes it can literally make you cry because it's going to bring up memories that actually hurt. And here's the thing, the more it hurts, the more it's going to change the life of someone else. Because you think that other people aren't suffering through what you went through. Of course. That's why I like to say God gave you a mess so that you can turn that into a message. God gave you a skill. God gave you suffering something in your life that you suffered with so that you can change other people's lives so that they don't have to go through the same suffering that you went through. So I want you to write down, and if it feels natural to you, write to the point where you cry. Write to the point where you feel so many emotions as you're typing out onto the keyboard. That's how you know you're doing this correctly. If you feel nothing, I'll say, if you feel no emotion, you're doing it wrong, because every single person has some kind of suffering that they've gone through. And here's just from a high level, from a mindset standpoint, you might be thinking, well, this is kind of ridiculous. It's too excessive to write like this. I'll tell you, it's selfish to keep your pains to yourself, because your pain is what can be turned into power. Your mess is what can be turned into your message. So let your message be known. Let it inspire and serve and change the life of someone else, okay? And if you're a person of faith, okay, could it be that God genuinely is allowing for your pain to happen in your life so that one day you could be used as a lighthouse to inspire and impact other people and glorify Him in the process, right? If you're a person of faith, if not, hopefully you still get some insight from that. By the way, if you want this Google Doc and spreadsheet so you can look through on your own time, go on Instagram, drop me a follow, and then message me with the word doc, D-O-C, and I'll send this to you right now. So if you look at this spreadsheet, this exercise here, what's really cool about this is we're going to start here, okay, with all the different points of vulnerabilities, okay? So for example, 10 points here. When I was 19 years old, I took on $6,000 in credit card debt, and I tried for 8 months all these different side hustles, and I failed drop shipping at the end of it. This is part of my personal story. This is a vulnerability, right? I could talk about the fact that my parents were really broke, and we still went into a lot of debt just so I could afford my way through university, right? I could talk through the fact that one of my businesses was an ATM machine. It got robbed. It got blown up. I lost all my money. I borrowed a loan from my dad. It got robbed, right? I could talk about the fact that no one supported me. My roommates, my parents, all these people, they all criticized me. No one believed me. And you would write down all these vulnerabilities. Okay, if you're a person of faith, you could write down a faith perspective. And then I want you to go through and write down your achievements and wins. And for this, if you're selling a business offer or you're selling a fitness offer, you don't have to come off as like a professional, right? Oh, but Richard, I'm not a millionaire yet. Oh, but Richard, I never competed in a bodybuilding competition. I'm not a fitness model. I don't get paid to take photos of myself. You see what I mean? Like, you don't have to be the epitome, the echelon, the top 1% of 1%. It's just, what's your win? What's your way in which you lost weight? What's your way in terms of how you made your first $1,000 online? You made your first sale online. The first way in which you found your dream girlfriend, your dream boyfriend. You see how simple that is? It's just your simple win and achievement, right? And then for the goals here, what you want to write down is where do you want to go? Where do you want to get to, right? That's where you're going to write down your goals. And then finally at the end, we're going to do something called a letter to myself, where you're going to write down your story. So I'm going to break down exactly how you do so, but I recommend you use a spreadsheet here, because this VTS, Viral Transformation Story, as you write down these points here, it just helps you write down 10 points. So you really just get everything out of your head, brain dump it onto the computer. And remember, the more vulnerable it is, the more powerful it's going to be. So for your vulnerabilities, think about your personal, non-financial stuff. Think about addictions that you've had, relationships, health issues, mental health, physical health, insecurities, career, school, business or side hustles you tried and you failed. Those are all vulnerabilities and stuff that you've just messed up on, right? Maybe if you're a faith, person of faith, talk about doubting, not sure if this is God's plan for your life, maybe walking away from faith, right? Losing your faith in God because you're just so burnt and so hurt by the process, right? Talk about that. In terms of your accomplishments and wins, same thing. Talk about, hey, what are non-financial wins that you had, right? A peace, a level of respect, of personal satisfaction that you've had, right? Personal satisfaction, relationships, financial, right? If you're selling any kind of business consulting, digital marketing, this is going to be stuff. Hey, your first sale, right? Going from 2K to 5K to 10K per month, making money while you sleep. You woke up to sales, right? I was doing all of this all day. I was at the gym all day, and all of a sudden this happened, right? So these are all really good wins, okay? In terms of your goals, right? Through your job, vacation, family, where do you want to get to, right? Where do you want to go? You want to retire your family? You want to retire your significant other? You want the freedom to be able to travel the world, have time freedom. You have a giving, a generosity goal of how much you want to give to your family, to church, to charities that you care about. You know, write down all those things. And then finally, at the very end, I want you to write down your story, okay? So for your story, and this is just like a made-up version, but this is something that totally people could resonate with, would be something like this. My name is Richard. I work a 9-to-5 job at Denny's as a restaurant manager. So I'm 25 years old, and ever since I was young, I always knew I wanted to provide for my family. I just never knew how. Grew up, my childhood, I was bullied. I was bullied for being Asian American. The color of my skin was different from the other kids at school. I was bullied, and this is a true story here. I was bullied because my dad dropped me off in a 1997 Toyota Camry that was so old and rusty and broken down. And I got bullied so much, and I was so embarrassed by the fact that my family had such a bad car. I asked my dad to drop me off 3 blocks, 3 streets before we even got to school, so people would not see me get out of the car because I was bullied because of that reason, right? I was also bullied because I was really insecure. I was very skinny, right? I had massive addictions. I had a video game addiction. I would play for 6-7 hours a day. The reason why I have to wear these blue light blocker glasses, this is a true story, is because my eyes are so bad and they get strained so easily because I just played so many video games back then, right? And that's just something, and you can get super, super, super vulnerable with this, right? And then finally here, I failed 4 businesses in university. I failed a dropshipping business. I failed a jewelry business. I borrowed $3,000 from my dad to buy an ATM machine, and even then, it got blown up, and I lost all the money. It was the most humiliating experience ever, hearing my father's voice as he choked up, saying, "Son, I'm disappointed in you." So you see how vulnerable this is. You're like, wow, man, you had a really sucky life. No, to be very clear, I'm very thankful for the childhood that I had. But when you share the vulnerabilities in your own story, that is what guides your relationship building with your audience, right? That's what gets people to really want to be learning from you, because you are the one that's vulnerable. So now you know how to tell your story. We actually have to monetize it, and we're going to do so using stories. So check out this video right here. I'm going to give you my 8-figure story selling playbook, and I'm going to teach you slide by slide exactly what to say in your stories so you can magnify and attract your audience.